Now, the ABC's Middle East correspondent Ben Knight has spent a great deal of time in Libya covering the reign and also the beginning of the downfall of Moamar Gaddafi. He joins us now from Jerusalem via webcam. Good to talk to you again, Ben Knight, and this has been a real knockdown, drag-out fight for Sirte, hasn't it? And also to finally shake out Moamar Gaddafi.
And Virginia is so important for the National Transitional Council. When this revolution was essentially over in Tripoli, the council always said that the revolution was not over completely until Moamar Gaddafi had been captured. Now, they then changed that because it was proving so difficult to find any trace of him or his family. So the marking point for the end of the revolution then became the capture of the city of Sirte. Well, now the National Transitional Council has both. They've captured Sirte, and at the same time, Colonel Gaddafi is dead. So this is the end of the revolution. They can essentially stop with most of the fighting, and they can begin with the process of trying to rebuild the country.
Do you believe that all of those fighters loyal to Moamar Gaddafi, that they will cease their fighting now?
Well, this is, of course, what everybody inside Libya who's loyal to the new government will be hoping. This is what everyone in NATO will be hoping. I mean, the reason that they were so keen not only to find Moamar Gaddafi but also his sons, and let's remember that several of those still haven't been found,
yes,
was because they feared that they would be the centre of an insurgency, exactly as we saw in Iraq. And because it took such a long time to find Saddam Hussein, that's what happened. But the other problem here is, if you remember, when Saddam Hussein was captured, he was tried. When he was executed, it was such a botched job, it was so badly done, that that in itself was also contributed to the insurgency as well. Now, the way that Moamar Gaddafi was captured and then killed, because we know that he was captured alive.
Yes.
We've seen those images. Now, the way that that was done, maybe that will inspire some insurgency for a while, but essentially it's finished.
So better for the country or worse for the country that there won't actually be a trial of Moamar Gaddafi?
Well, I think that very much depends on where you sit. In the West, of course, there's a view that no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, it's best for you to face trial. It's best for the process of justice to work its way through. But inside the Middle East, and particularly inside a country like Libya, people just think differently. I was talking to someone here today who said this is the best thing for many reasons. I mean, over here there is the view that he committed the crimes, there's no doubt about it, kill him. It's going to stop any of his followers from trying to rally around him. And as we've heard, the government says it's going to try and bury him in a secret grave. I mean, this is one of the reasons why when Osama bin Laden was killed, he was buried at sea, so there was no grave to rally around. So it's a different perspective from inside Libya. I think it's not surprising that it happened this way. It's probably disappointing from the point of view of perhaps the United States, from France and Britain, who wanted to see the National Transitional Council showing the signs of being a modern, democratic government, a part of the world community and prepared to go through those motions of the law. But the fact is that this was a rebellion that was led by a civilian army, a volunteer army, an untrained army, and when the moment came, he was captured alive. But the moment took over and he's now dead and, humiliated.
It was well known that Moamar Gaddafi had pretty poor relationships, really, with his neighbouring countries, countries to the east and to the west. But what's the status now, do you think, of the transitional government and the relationships that it might be able to form, and in particular with the members of the Arab League?
Well, I note that the African Union has now lifted its suspension of Libya almost within hours of the news that Moamar Gaddafi was dead. Now that is hugely significant. The Arab League, I think, will welcome Libya in with open arms. The African Union was a very different story because while Moamar Gaddafi essentially led an Arab country, his ties were with Africa, and that's where so much of the squandered oil money went into funding wars, rebellions, private armies inside Africa. He actually had himself, and not many people either know or remember this, he actually had himself crowned King of Africa in the city of Benghazi in the 2000s. I think it was about 5 years ago. So he always had places to go. He always had friends there, but they were in these kind of tin pot African countries that were led by dictators similar to him, that were ruled by the gun and chaos and lack of law. So while he might have been able to run there weren't necessarily places that he would have liked to have stayed. But as it turns out, whether he actually crossed into Niger or Nigeria, we'll probably not know for some time. He was in Sirte, and that's where he died.
Good to talk to you this morning, Ben Knight. Thanks so much.